Hey guys, Sharp21 here again with another scripting tutorial. Today I'll be teaching you guys how to script GUIs, and I'll be showing you how to use module scripts and what they can be used for. So first, what you want to do is you're going to go to Roblox Studio to open up a plain base plate. So first I'm going to start off with GUIs. So first we need to create a screen GUI. I showed you guys how to use the basics of screen GUIs in last tutorial. So to get info on a few of the objects that there are, check out the last tutorial. So first you need to insert a screen GUI into the player's GUI. And then let's create a frame. We're going to size it to fill up the entire screen, which is 1 0 and then 1 0. Then we're going to set its style to a drop shadow. Looks kind of cool. And then let's put in a text label. Let's see. I'm not gonna make it look too fancy. Just gonna do something simple so I can show you guys how to do some things. There. Let's put that in. And let's put in the text button too. Right there. We're gonna copy this position here, so it'll be a bit easier to position the way I want it. And put this Y scale down a bit. Okay, there we go. So, right here I have a text label and a text button. So the difference between these two, like I explained in the last tutorial, this is a reminder, I'm going to tell you guys again. A text label is just a box with some text in it. Of course you can, manipulate it a bit with colors and stuff like that, but mainly it's just a box that the player cannot really interact with. A text button, on the other hand, is an actual button that the player can click. It has text in it, but the player can still click on it. So pretty much the only difference between a text label and text button is that the player can click on it and interact with it. Now, you may be thinking, hey, this is pretty great, I can make things like shops and stuff with this. But how are you going to program it so that way it'll react, the server will react when someone clicks on it? To do this, we need to use scripting. So we're going to start with the text button for scripting, and we're going to use a local script. So delete the print hello world commands there by default. And so now I'm going to show you guys how to make the game react to when the player clicks on the button. So to detect mouse input from the player, first you have to reference the button you are detecting a mouse click from. So since this script is inside of the text button, to refer to the button, we have to do script.parent. And so now we just referenced the text button right here. So now what we need to do is, this is where we put in the event listener, which is the mouse click. So we do mouse button 1 click. So the mouse button 1, that's the left mouse button. Mouse button 2 is the right mouse button. So this is just a regular click. Let's say you want to detect if the player held down the mouse button. Oops. So mouse button 1 down, that's going to detect if the player holds down the button. If you want to detect it, you want the server to react when you release the mouse button, then you do mouse button 1 up, and then this function will fire once you release the first mouse button. So we're just going to do click right now. I'm going to connect to a function without and we're going to have no parameters inside of it. So now we have the event listener right here, and it's just waiting for the player to click on it. So that's pretty much all there is to detect the click right there. But we usually are going to want to make it do something. So let's make it change the background color from white to, how about red? So to change the color of something when you're using screen GUIs, you have to reference the thing that you're changing the color of first, which is script.parent, and then we're going to do background color 3 equals color3.new. So first I'm going to explain something about color 3 and how these colors work. So with GUIs, colors work differently from part colors. See, with parts, it's colors are used in brick colors, which is just, plain color with a name. With screen GUIs, we use this thing called color 3. The more official term for it is actually RGB, which stands for red, green, and blue. All colors that you see on your computer screen are made out of red, green, and blue. So what we need to do here is we need to program the color in this red, green, and in this RGB format. So it's pretty easy to find the color that you want for player GUIs. You can click on the thing that says background color 3 right here, and then find the color that you want. And you can also adjust it too with this little slider here, choosing it darker or lighter shades of that color. So I'm going to choose red right here and press OK. So right here to the right of background color 3, you can see the color that you just chosen, and to the right of that you see 3 numbers within these brackets right here. These are the color coordinates, you can call them. So the first coordinate is the red coordinate, the second one is the green, and the third one is blue. The highest number you can go in each of these coordinates is 255. So right now we are at pure red. That is what we want. So for change this background color to red, we're going to do 25500. So that should change the background color to red. And then for just a little something else to do, we're going to make the game print changed background color to red. Let's go ahead and test it out. Press the play button. Oh, whoops! I forgot to do something. I had to change that back to white so you actually see the color change. Let's play again. Okay, so as you can see, to tell the difference between a text button and a text label in the game is you usually just put your mouse cursor over it. If it changes its shade of color, usually that means it's just going to be a text label. But if it changes a little shade of color like that when you put your mouse over it, usually means it's a button. So you click that, and then it changed to the color red. And then down here in the output, it said change background color to red, just like we wanted it to. Press stop. I'm gonna go back to this script. So I just showed you guys how to detect mouse clicks from the player using a text button. So maybe you wanted something else to happen besides changing the color. Maybe you wanted to change how transparent the text button is. Like right now, the transparency is at 0, which means it's fully visible. If we wanted it to go away and just display the plain text right there, then we would set the transparency to 1. To do that, we gotta reference the text button again, which is script.parent. Then we do .background transparency, and then it equals 1. That is the highest that the transparency can go. 1 equals 0, and then 1 equals invisible, and then 0 equals fully visible. And in between there would be kind of like like window visible, like 0.5. That's halfway visible and invisible. So we're gonna press play. Press it, and now as you can see, it seems that the button it has, but the background color has gone away, because it's invisible, but the text is still there, as you can see right there. Let's press stop again. That's how you can change the background transparency. The border color 3, that is around all these things is like a border. You can choose how big it is. The border size pixel right now is set to 1 by default. Set to 5 would be bigger. So right now you can see that black border around it. And by default, the color is black. You can change it to any color that you want using the same color format of RGB as you do with the background color 3 value. So now so to change that, you would do which means that you would do basically the same thing that you do right here, except instead of doing background transparency, you do, what is it called, border size pixel instead, and then you do equal whatever it is you want to be. So that's how you can change that right there. Module is I think that's how to pronounce it, I'm not sure, but it is a bool value or boolean value, which is a true or false value. So when the box is unchecked, that means it's false. When it's checked, it means it's true. So basically, what this is more for, like, games where you'd be locked in the first person view. If you did that, if you're in the first person view, you wouldn't really be able to interact with any of the screen GUIs, because your mouse would be locked in the middle of the screen. But with modules enabled, then while you're zoomed in all the way, you'll be able to move your cursor around and select buttons and stuff. So to turn that value true or false, you would use script.parent.module equals true, or you can make it false. That's all there is to it. That's how you would enable it or disable it. The name, it's a string value, so you do script.parent.name equals, and then quotation marks, and do whatever you want it to do. It could be Bob if you want it to. Here, a little note to keep for you to remember. Whenever you are defining a string in terms like this, you have to put it in quotation marks, either single quotes or double quotes, but the string has to end with the same type of quote you did. So for example, you can't put the name to Bob, and then like you would have the quotation, like double quotation marks right there, but then single one right there. That will give you an error. It has to be the same type on both sides. So that's how you change its name. Let's see. Oh, the position. The position of the text button is a bit different than it is for positions of parts and things that you see in the 3D workspace. Like if you click on the base plate right here and go on position property, you see there are only 3 coordinates: X, Y, and Z. For text buttons or anything that you use in screen GUIs, it is a bit different. There's only 2 coordinates, X and Y, but there are 2 other properties inside of that. There is scale and offset. I'm going to explain what those are right now. So, scale, it's basically like a fraction kind of, where 1 is your entire screen, and anything below that is a part of your screen. So, if I set this position to 1 right here, it would go out of my screen because it would be the entire thing. So it would move the button all the way over on the x-axis out of my screen view. It's the same. It goes the same way for Y. Now, what offset is? The offset is basically just the pixels. So let's say you want to do 5. That would be 5 pixels. So it just moved my button 5 pixels over when I did that. The thing with that is all computer screens, well, not all computer screens, but pretty much everybody has a different screen resolution, and every screen resolution there are a certain amount of pixels in that. So obviously someone has the same monitor as you, then they're going to have the same amount of pixels in it. But what if someone else comes along that doesn't have that has a smaller screen than you? Then if you just did this position by purely offset by pixels, then your screen and whatever you displayed here with your screen GUI could look very distorted to them. It could look too large or too small, or some buttons could possibly be out of the screen somewhat. So I rarely use offset. Most of the time I just use scale. It's a better thing to do, I think. So to set the position of these things, so the thing with positioning screen GUIs is that their position is measured differently than parts. So a part position or size value is in vector 3 value, but because it has 3 coordinates. But with screen GUIs, it's measured in UDIM 2. because it's not in the same format as part positions are, and it goes the same thing with size too. So to change the position of screen GUIs or the size of it, you need to do reference the thing that you're changing the size of, which is script.parent again, dot position or size equals udim2 dot new. Okay, so in this one there are actually 4 parameters we need to enter in, because there are 2 coordinates, but inside of each coordinate we have to define the scale and the offset of it. So we're going to change the position to, for the X scale, we're going to do 0.2 and then 0, and then for the Y scale, we're going to do 0.8, and then for offset, we're going to do 0 again. Oops. We're going to print, let's see, let's print, button has been moved. Let's try it out. Press play, and go over and click on the button, and as you can see, the button moved right there. And down here, it printed the same thing too. Button has been moved. So that's how you change the position of it. This the same thing with size, so just change the dot position thing to dot size. Oops. Okay, let's press play again, and then you'll see what I mean. See, it got pretty big right there. So that's how you change the size of it. Let's see, selectable, rotation. Oh yeah, rotation. It is measured in int value, I think. Oh yeah, I can go in decimals too. So rotation is pretty self-explanatory. It's how the screen GUI is rotated. It's not measured in udim2.new. It is measured in with one value. It's a float value, which means it can be an integer or decimal. It can go into decimals and stuff. So to change it, it's very easy. Script.parent.rotation equals, it would just be one number. You could do like 20 or something. By the way, this is measured in degrees. So if you did 90 degrees, which is a right angle, and you clicked on it, and it would turn 90 degrees. I'll show you. Click on it, and that turns up and down like that because it turned at 90 degrees. That's how you change rotation. Let's see. The size constraint. I think we'll skip that. You don't really need it. The style. So the style is like how this frame, how my frame thing is done. Right now my style for this one is drop shadow. I can do Roblox round, so it kind of changes that. But the bad thing about this is that when you change when you put a style to something other than custom, the amount of things that you can change, the amount of things that you can change in the frame are very minimal. Like for example, you can't change the background color, you can't change its transparency, you can't change border size pixel. You can still change position and size and stuff, but there isn't much else that you can change about it. In terms of its appearance. So be aware of that when you use style. So to change a style, it is defined in a string value. So first you gotta reference the property you're gonna change. So script.parent.style equals, and you gotta choose the style that you want. Make sure you type it in exactly as it is. So let's do like Roblox button default. So to define that you're doing a string, you put quotation marks. We're gonna do Roblox button default. Let's press play. Click on that, and then it changed its style to that. It's kind of an old, ugly-looking style of button. I really don't like this thing. I'd never use it. It's just hideous, I think. But it's your guys' scripting. You do what you want with it. There are some other pretty cool ones. Like that one's pretty cool. Has like those curved corners. I like that about that one. I use that one kind of often. It's pretty cool. And they have a white version of it. And visible. It's real invisible. So it's similar to background transparency, except it'll make everything invisible or visible. So it's a true or false value, which means it's a boolean value. So if it's checked, it means it's true, which means everything on here will appear. If I uncheck it, then it'll disappear completely. So you would change the value of this the same way you do it with module. So script.parent.visible equals true or false. So zindex is kind of means, or you could say z index. It's kind of like a third dimension in this 2D space, sort of. It's basically just layers. So let's say you have these two things right here, kind of overlapping each other, or in like the same space, like in the same area, kind of. Oops, wrong one. Or like kind of like in the same area. Here was 6. So you see how this text button right here is going over, is like overlapping this button right here. Well, right now Roblox is choosing randomly which one to put on top, because both these things index are at 1. So this is how you can choose which things are going to be on top. Zindex can go up to a maximum of 10, and its lowest is 1. So right now this is on like layer 1. If I wanted this text button to be on top of this text label, now I would change it to something higher than 1, like 2. See? Once I set that, it changed, so the button was overlapping that. You change it just by doing, it's an integer value, you can't do decimals. So zindex, to change it, you just do script.parent.index equals, one of those numbers, either between 1 and 10. So the font, it is, I'm sure you guys already know what this is, but it's the way the text looks. It is defined in a string value. You change it the same we do with the style thing. Same thing with the font size. You do size like 14 or 15 in a string value. Let's see. Text, change it the same way you change the name property. The text scaled. I recommend doing this as much as possible, because what it does, so you can change the size of the text by using this property here. But the problem with that is, if someone has a smaller screen than you, then if they have like a significantly smaller screen than you, then that could cause problems, or like visual problems. It wouldn't ruin scripts or anything, but it wouldn't look as appealing to the player, because like their button could be like very small, and their text inside the button could be like reaching way out here. Like we're typing something like really long right now, like that. Oops, let's type in a bit more so you see that. I'll get rid of that. So you see how like all these letters are going outside of the actual square. If the player screen is small enough, that could happen to them. So then the button wouldn't look very appealing to them. It would look kind of ugly. So this text scale thing will do is that it will the game will automatically adjust the size of the font compared to how big the player's screen is and how big the button is. So then you won't have to mess with that font size at all. And text wrapped, if like, let's say if something like for word or some letters in here are like really like long, it's a lot of stuff in here, and it won't really fit, and it won't fit inside the bounds of the box. Then what it will do is that it'll make the text go onto different lines. Like when you press enter, like when you're typing or something, it'll go onto a new line. That's basically what it does. But your box has to be big enough so you will still be able to see the rest of the text. That's why you also use text scale. Still shrink the text so you can still fit it in there. Let's see, text stroke transparency and text transparency. The text stroke transparency is basically like a border around the text. You change it the same way you do with background transparency. Text transparency, how transparent the actual text itself is. Change it the same way we do with text stroke transparency. Text wrap, true or false value. Text X alignment, like right now it's in the center. Put it to the left, if we shift it over a little bit. Change it using a string value. Draggable, during the game, if a draggable value is true, the player should be able to drag the button around to wherever you want. So I could help with like customizing, like a customizable interface. See, right now I can drag the button around to wherever I want. So if you want like to have a really customizable game, you could do that. If you want players to be able to move around the GUIs and stuff. Clips descendants. So what that does, like if you had another thing inside of here like this, right here, if clips descendants was enabled, then if this button, if it goes outside of the bounds of this text button right here, the rest of it will be clipped off, which means like you won't be able to see it. That's what they call it, clips descendants. So that's what that does. So this is a more advanced thing with GUIs. Pretty much all you need to know about them. So now you can customize them more, however you want. So that's pretty much the scripting part of the screen GUIs, kind of like advanced scripting, I guess. Also, a note: in these tutorials, I'm going to teach you guys how to make your games with filtering enabled. So what that does is, I'm not going to go into in depth of how you use it and stuff now and what it does. I'm not going to go in depth at what it does and how to use it yet. But basically, it's a way to, with filtering enabled, it makes it a lot harder for hackers to hack your game. So what it does is it makes it so local scripts cannot interact with the server. So basically, whatever the local script does will not carry on to the server, which would allow like for things like local parts and stuff. Because the way you can get the biggest effect with hacking is to inject code into the game, which the most common way of doing it in Roblox is putting local scripts in there. So if you turn on filtering enabled, then the people who are injecting local scripts into the game will not be able to affect other people with it. It'll only affect yourself, so which will really ruin the effect of hacking and stuff. So because of this, only use local scripts. Do not put server scripts inside screen GUIs, because it will not work with filtering enabled. If your filtering enabled is off, then you can still do that. But I'm going to teach you guys how to make your games with filtering enabled, so you guys won't have to learn the way to not do that, and then you have to relearn how you script the game. So then you'll have to relearn how to script the game to make it anti-hacker. That's how I had to learn like that, because when I first learned how to script, filtering enabled was not a thing. Filtering enabled was not a thing yet. So I learned how to do it like the non-anti-hacker way. Then when filtering enabled came out, I had to relearn a way to make my games so I can make them like anti-hacking. So only use local scripts inside your screen GUIs. Do not use server scripts. So let's get rid of the screen GUI now. I'm going to show you guys how to use module scripts. So go into the Advanced Objects button, tabbing, and type in module script. Double click it and put it in here. So the first thing we notice right off the bat is this code right here, and that doesn't have that print command in there. So everything inside of here, this is where all your functions of the module go. So I'm going to explain what a module script is. So it is a script. It's technically not local or a server script. It's kind of both. So it'll be whatever the module script will be, whatever kind of script it is called from. So let's say like a server script used the module script, then the module script would basically be a server script. But if a local script was using the module script, then the module script would be a local script. Hope that you guys understand that. It might sound complicated, I don't know. But basically what it does is that you can put a bunch of functions that you use in here often in the game, and you can use them throughout the thing, and the code will all be in one spot. So that way you don't have to define the same function over and over in all of these different scripts, and then Yeah, like if you found out there's a bug in it, you won't have to go through all of those scripts again and change it. Instead, you'll only have to go to one source, and then change the code. Okay, so now that I've explained what module scripts do and what they're used for, I'll explain how to create the functions inside of them. So to create the function that you want to be able to, all the other scripts to be able to use, what you have to do is you have to create the function first. So first to do this, you create it just like you would with a normal function. So you do function, and then you put the name of it. But here's a little twist in it. You have to do whatever this variable is right here. So you have to do module right now. So since this thing right here is module, you have to do module right here. So you do module dot and then the name of your function. So right when we do module dot make part, and then you do your parameters and stuff. So we're going to do position, size, anchored, and then can collide. So we can customize a bit more. So what we're going to do is that once this function is called, we are going to make a new part in the workspace. So part equals instance.new part workspace. I need to make this local right here. Local part equals instance.new part workspace. Okay, so we created the parts in the workspace. So I'm going to use these other things that have been put into. I have to use these parameters that have been put into this function. So we're going to change the position to part dot position equals position, part dot size equals size, part dot anchored equals, and then part dot can collide equals can collide. Okay, so we made the function here. This will create a part with all those things that we give it. So now let's make a script that'll actually call this. So let's make a regular script. So here's how you call it. So first, this script right now does not recognize the function that we just put into here, because we haven't referenced the module script and the things inside of it. So what we need to do, first need to reference the module script where all the functions are. So to do this, we need to make a variable. We're going to name this my module. Then we're going to equal, and then we have to use this command called require, just like that. So this is how you get a module script from the game. So you do require, and in parentheses you gotta reference the module script. So it's in the workspace, so we do workspace dot module script. And so now we just got all of the functions that are inside of the module script with this one thing here. So now to use the function that we have inside of it, we have to do my module dot, see what's it called, make part. And so now we have to put in all the parameters that we just did. So you can hear the parameters we did. We do position, so we're going to do vector3 dot new. We're going to do 555. And we're going to do its size, which is vector3 dot new. Let's do 555 again. So there's anchored. That's just a true or false value, so we're just going to do true. And then we can collide, we're going to do true as well. So now we just call the function and put in all the parameters. So now when we call this function, it should create a part with all the properties we gave it. See right there, we just made it with that module script. So that's how you use module scripts. It's really not that complicated, but it can be very useful. Like a couple months ago, like when I was working on my game, I did not know how to use module scripts because they weren't around when I first started programming, so I never learned how to use them. And so I missed out on a lot of efficiency for my game. Like for example, if I had to change how something worked, I had to go into a lot of scripts and change it to the same thing over and over. I had to change it a lot. when I could have just linked it all to a module script and then made the scripts execute from there. But I missed a lot of efficiency from that, and now that I use module scripts, I can make my development a lot easier. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you have any questions, message me on Roblox or something like that. My username on Roblox is sharpchain1. Or if you have a question, put it in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer it. If this was helpful, please hit that like button, and please subscribe for more videos so you can be notified when I make more videos. And I will see you guys later. This is sharpchain1 out.